Yes, everybody, welcome back to the channel. I've just been sitting here for nigh on 10 minutes, sort of trying to figure out how to write my starting 11 before I start. And it's probably one of the hardest starting 11s I've ever had to pick for Manchester United, because this is nothing to do with Nuno and Spurs and the tactical situation that they represent and the difficulties in trying to break down them and combat their weaknesses. This is very much a, politically, is this a free hit for Ole? Politically, can he just go, do you know what? I'm probably going to lose my job. Should I just pick what I actually think is the best 11 with no consequences? Does that mean he gets to drop the people he doesn't like? Does that mean he gets to do what he actually thinks is the best for the team, rather than what he thinks is the best for the harmony of the squad? Perhaps does he upset some people and not others? This is hard work trying to pick this. So I think Cavani should play, but I don't think he will. I think Jesse Lingard should play, and I don't think he will. I don't think Fred should play, and I think he will. I think Varane should come straight back into the team, but I don't know if he will. This is one of the hardest to pick that I've ever seen from United. It's horrible in reality. So let's look at Tottenham. Let's start with Tottenham, and we'll come to my 11 a little bit later in the video. So they're currently lying 6th in the league this season. Lost 3, won 2 of their last 5 league games. Very hit and miss from them this season. They do tend to be better at home. They've won 3 of their 4 home games in the league this season, and they've struggled away from home a lot more this season. I do wonder how much the Harry Kane transfer saga has unsettled not just the squad, but him, as he seemingly decided to take this season off. And I say that realising the old commentator's curse of him about to bang in a brace and absolutely tear us apart this weekend. It was shit against West Ham, so let's find out, shall we? How do they play? Right, Nuno has sort of reverted to the standard 4-2-3-1 in the hopes of sort of getting some sort of stability back into the team, some structure, bit of balance. And they haven't been quite as leaky since he made that change. Nuno isn't necessarily wedded to a particular style of play. I think he's quite pragmatic, quite defensive first, in the true sense of the word. And I think he's someone that's willing to change the team's style of play depending on what he's got available to him, as well as what the opposition offer, along with obviously the other varying factors and circumstances. I think in every single team that he's managed, probably with the exception to the one that he had in Porto, his teams generally rank low for possession, pressures, pressing, and he tends to opt for being hard to beat. Looks to maybe play on a counter, capitalise on the break. However, it wouldn't surprise me if at home Spurs decided to press high, as he's seen teams having a lot of success with that against us. And our inability to play out, he might focus on as a bit of a weakness and press us from the off, and they've got the players to do that. And a lot of their success in recent years has come down to the fact that that type of style suits their personnel much better. 4-2-3-1 is very much a Tottenham formation in this era. And there's been a great deal of interchangeability and fluidity with Kane, Moura and Son, and they often occupy all 3 of the positions that they would take up in those teams. And they all have a bit of a freedom and luxury to roam. And then they have a natural midfielder. Of late, it's been Ndombele playing in that number 10 role where he's been very good. Lucas Moura can be difficult to stop once he gets up ahead of steam. Absolutely rapid, particularly when he picks the ball up centrally in attacking transition. He's so quick. Got a great low centre of gravity. Really bursts forward with the ball. He's very brave when he gets on it. And more often than not, the only way to stop him is to launch him. Let him know you're there early. Harry Kane does vacate the 9 often, and that actually makes him difficult to play against. It'd be much easier to play against him if you could let him know you're there again. But he does vacate. For me, I don't like that. I'd rather he was up against the strikers, leading the line and getting shots off in those areas, but he comes and occupies the same sort of spot that the number 10 really occupies quite often. However, when Son is on it and when Lucas is on it, they often break into the spaces that he leaves, causing some confusion, and they're quite dangerous when they do that. It puts pressure on you to defensively to really see and track those runners, and if Kane's allowed to ghost in by a sleepy number 6, then you can have some problems. Højbjerg, though, is probably the unsung hero of this whole setup, and he's vital to the way the team functions. He's in the top 5 for tackles in the league, and he's led the league in tackles last season. He really sets the tone for that Tottenham team. The tempo starts with him, and I think he's great at breaking up play. Sessegnon, the only player that's missing for Spurs ahead of the welcome of Manchester United. Brian Gill is supposedly being assessed after coming off the Carabao Cup win over Burnley. Seems unlikely, would have started anyway. And the predicted 11 that I am going for is Lloris, Royal, Romero, Dyer, Reguilon, Skip, who's really started to nail down a first team place, Højbjerg, Moura, Ndombele, Son, and Kane. And the star man, it's Son. He's their best player. Forget what you heard about Harry Kane. It's human Son. And he's got 4 goals and 2 assists, 6 goal involvements in 12 games. He's their most dangerous player, the most dynamic player. And although his numbers aren't crazy, he often looks like Spurs' biggest threat in game. One of the best inverted forwards in the world over the last couple of years. He's an absolute live wire. He's really sharp. He has the pace to hurt on the counter and trouble that vulnerable backline, especially with his real intelligent ghosting runs. That's what United are terrible at dealing with. And he also makes it hard to defend because he can finish on both sides, left or right foot, and he's got a bit of power when he shoots as well. So he's a real good player that you got to deal with. Opposition data-wise as a team, they're very much middle of the road when it comes to possession, 50.7 under Nuno. Like I said, a little bit more pragmatic in how he sets them up. They've had generally more they've been more effective when it comes to counter-attacking football than manufacturing chances in a possession-based build-up. Their players are better in space, so Moura, Bergwijn, Son, and they've only scored 9 goals so far this season, which is the 5th worst in the league, which is shit with the attacking talent that they've got. They also have only amounted an XG of 9.6, which tells you that they're not even making a lot of chances, and only Newcastle, Norwich and Burnley have got a worse XG than they do. And they have conceded 13 goals, which means that they currently have a goal difference of -4. Certainly not good for a team that's so high in the table. And with the personnel that they've got, that's pretty representative of how bad their performance have been, that they've conceded 4 more goals than they've actually scored this season. Only Watford and Norwich have had less touches in opponents' penalty areas than Tottenham. And if you wanted further proof, Tottenham are around 10.6 shots per 90, which is the 2nd worst in the league. Only Norwich are averaging less shots per game, and Tottenham having 6 more shots than them in total for the entirety of the season. For the likes of Son, Moura, Bergwijn, and Ndombele, they are a side with players who love to dribble rather than have quite intricate build-up play, and as a team they've attempted the 3rd most dribbles in the league, so a little bit of something to note. You might see them trying to run at us rather than trying to knock it around us. United 11, I said it was hard. Here's what I've come up with, and it's not my best work, this. I've really sort of sat on the fence between what I think Ole will do and what I would like to see. De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, I think Varane's got to come straight back in, but I would understand if he didn't. I would understand if he plays Maguire, especially with Varane just coming back in, but I think I would probably go with Lindelof against him. Normally Lindelof against Harry Kane's a bad matchup, but with Varane there, I could see it. I think, however, it'll be Maguire and Varane that he does opt for. Shaw at left back. I think he's been rough, but I don't think he's bad enough to drop him just yet. I think Matic and McTominay needs to be in the midfield with Bruno ahead of them, but not as ahead of them. It's going to be Ronaldo, Sancho and Rashford. If we take our chances, and that's got to be the mantra coming into the game, which is cliche as hell, but the way Spurs approach, I think that this could be a really frustrating afternoon for us. They're going to try and limit the chances. United need to take our chances. You will get chances. There might not be loads, but you will get chances. You've got to be clinical. Goals change the game, and you need to make them pay. For one example, Bruno, very early on against Liverpool last week, if he goes 1-0 up, you might see United completely take the game to Liverpool in a different manner. It might have ended up 5-1. But if you take your chance early, you can change the game. Expect it to be tight. It's going to be very, very tight and probably a hell of a frustrating game. 2 teams underperforming. Probably, sadly, both happier to draw this than lose it. And they might be looking to do that rather than go toe-to-toe and end up in some sort of 5-4 thriller. They might choose to press us at home, and they probably find a little bit of success doing that. You got to attack using width. That's why I went with Sancho and with Rashford. I think you've got to really start stretching the pitch. Son and Moura cheat up the field. They don't always track back. That's your opportunity to try and gain some yardage and some opportunities. 1v1, 2v1 opportunities will be there for you against the fullbacks. Romero had a real tough time against Antonio with his speed and his strength. Rashford can get on the inside of him, play off his shoulder, and you can really hurt him. They have a higher line than you would expect for a team that wants to play without possession. And do you know what? Let's do the basics right this weekend. United have had the basics been so bad against Leicester, against Atalanta, against Liverpool, even if we're just talking about those 3 games. Spurs have not been amazing going forward. But if we give them the sort of space that we give Liverpool at the weekend, they'll score. Harry Kane will score if you give him anything like the sort of space we give Mo Salah. And they didn't even get out of second gear to create those chances and score 5 goals against us. So we have to be 100% better defensively. We have to start with the fundamentals and basics of defending. Defensively, the way we're set up and the kind of areas we expose, we are very tailor-made for how their forwards are going to take advantage of us. And that's my biggest concern. We need to get back to basics, not lose the game first, then try and win the game. And an early goal might be the best thing that United can do, because then the pressure's off us to attack, we can relax, and you will find gaps against the Tottenham team as it starts to pour forward, because Nuno's going to want to set these guys up to be pragmatic first and not lose the game first. So an early goal changes his outlook and forces him to come and play, because he's not going to want to lose another game at home. All good? Jesus Christ, let's hope it was better than last weekend. Cheers for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.